There are many pieces of animated media that have grown in infamy over the years because of how bad they are, but they didn't have to be so bad. That's the idea behind Fixing Animation, a series where I make humble suggestions to improve what many find beyond improvement. This is Fixing Animation. There have been many special episodes of SpongeBob, and by that I mean episodes that are longer than the typical 11 minutes and are more ambitious. Some of these specials are pretty good, and others are the 10th anniversary special. Man, that thing was bad. But one of the most irritating SpongeBob specials is The Sponge Who Could Fly, and the reason it's irritating is because it's so close to being great, but a couple major things make it a bad episode, including some other irritating things. It's basically a 22-minute long episode about SpongeBob wanting to fly and trying to invent a flying machine, and eventually he does, technically. And when he does, he begins helping citizens all around Bikini Bottom. Let's just start off with going over the positives. First off, I really like the premise. I think you could go many places with a flying SpongeBob helping people. Something about it just feels like a good idea, like Patrick being an animal apparently. The episode isn't without some good gags too. One that really stands out to me is when SpongeBob has a flashback to something his grandpa said to him once, and then Patrick has the same flashback and Grandpa SquarePants comes to life to yell at Patrick because he's not his grandfather. And the final major positive thing about this episode is the Patchy segments. The episode begins with a Patchy the Pirate segment where he's taking a shower and Potty flushes the toilet on him, which is funny because it plays on the Bugs and Daffy type dynamic. And then we get an odd slideshow of clips of previous SpongeBob episodes, which would be cool if they had something like this in the series finale of SpongeBob in like 50 years from now. But in this random episode that isn't even the end of the season it's in, it feels out of place. But it is admittedly nice to see some clips from a lot of classic episodes. Honestly, the first Patchy segment isn't a major positive, but it has some funny moments, especially in the playground scene. And so this sounds like a backhanded compliment, but the entire final Patchy segment and the first few minutes of the opening Patchy segment in this episode didn't irritate me. Something that I wish I could say about everything else in this episode. And now, the negatives. Well, first off, on the topic of the Patchy segments, the one in the opening is too dang long. It was already going on for like 5 minutes when Patchy finally found the last episode, which is insane, but then when he gets home to watch it and you think the Patchy segment is over, it drags on. We get half a minute of a SpongeBob rock cycle. It's literally just an animation of SpongeBob walking. It's like playing a demo of the Atlantis SquarePants PS2 game. The rock cycle does have music over it that could make for some pretty good video game music, but make no mistake, it is an unfunny, stupid gag that just makes a Patchy segment even longer when it should have already ended a few minutes ago. The actual SpongeBob episode doesn't begin until 7 minutes into the special. That is really insane. The first few minutes of the animated segment are solid classic SpongeBob with the joke I mentioned earlier, and we see in Jellyfish Fields what SpongeBob's motivation is in this episode. He wants to be able to fly with the jellyfish. And then the entire special goes down the drain after his attempts to invent a way to fly, and the entire population of Bikini Bottom feel the need to mock him for it. Everyone in town makes fun of him, and they go out of their way to bully and harass him everywhere he goes. Even when he's just walking on the street, they really take it too far, and the way they treat SpongeBob isn't even funny. This episode has the same big problem Someone's in the Kitchen with Sandy has, where they make the citizens of Bikini Bottom incredibly bad people, absolutely terrible characters, and it somehow gets worse when SpongeBob's pants become inflatable, though the way it happens is pretty funny.
Who is this? Joe Mama. Well, listen up, Joe. I hate to break it to you, but flying is impossible. I have to go now. My head just hit the ceiling.
But with that said, when people see him flying around, suddenly everyone acts entitled to have him use his flying pants to do everything they demand him to do. And when he eventually gets sick of doing those stupid tasks, suddenly he's the bad guy, as they become a mob and go after him, shooting him down and popping his inflatable pants. The townsfish are just so unlikable and really make it such a miserable and irritating episode. And what's Mrs. Puff doing in the mob? You'd think she'd be easier on SpongeBob since she's his teacher, but actually considering the episode I reviewed in the first fixing animation, maybe not. At the end, the citizens do regret their actions, but only because they destroyed the flying pants, and they don't actually feel bad for the way they treated SpongeBob. They only care about popping the inflatable pants. Then after that happens, there's another song that tries to somehow tie the episode together with a theme about friendship, which comes completely out of nowhere because the entire rest of the episode has nothing to do with friendship. Yes, SpongeBob's best friend is in the episode, but there's no "I'm so happy to have a friend like you, Patrick," or any other moments that focuses on friendship as an important theme of the episode and really, or even slightly, drives it home. Therefore, it just falls flat on its face. The episode does end with a funny joke about Patrick somehow flying though. And the actual last 2 minutes of the episode is another Patchy segment that's honestly pretty funny, but it also validates my opinion even more that this episode didn't need to be a 22-minute special. That is 7 minutes of Patchy at the beginning, plus 2 minutes at the end. Add that up, that's 9 minutes of Patchy segments, and about 13 minutes of SpongeBob stuff. Almost half the episode is the Patchy segments, and the actual SpongeBob episode is only about a couple minutes longer than an average SpongeBob episode. Did they really have to stretch this episode out to 22 minutes? Yes, it's interesting having Patchy go on a treasure hunt for a lost SpongeBob episode, but like I said, that's almost half the episode. It goes on for way too long, and when you take yourself out of the special for a minute, you realize it's also very gimmicky. This is only season 3 of SpongeBob. It aired before 9 other episodes of season 3 aired. There's nothing about this episode that really screams lost episode. It would make more sense if this episode was made for season 3 and was held onto and didn't air until the time season 7 or 8 came along, and Nickelodeon could have been like, hey look, a never before seen episode of classic SpongeBob. Even if the show was originally supposed to end after the movie, they could have aired this episode after some time had passed after the movie came out. But no, that's not what happened. And what we were left with is just a very gimmicky SpongeBob special, where animation was absent for almost half the episode. People hate on Atlantis SquarePants, but at least 90% of that episode was actually animated. Okay, so how would I fix this? Well, in my humble opinion, I think I already fixed it. See, I've been thinking of this for a while. SpongeBob having inflatable pants and becoming a bit of a superhero figure as he does little things to help people in his underwater town is a pretty good concept. In fact, I like it so much, I think it could make for not just a great episode, but a great spin-off series. Introducing Super Sponge. Back in 2021, I came up with a reimagination of this concept that I would like to see as an ongoing story. In this version of it, the citizens of Bikini Bottom are not complete a-holes to SpongeBob. Bikini Bottom is actually a friendly community, and that's one of the themes of the series. Community. In the first episode, Sandy Cheeks invents inflatable pants and gives them to SpongeBob, and SpongeBob then dons the identical identity, Super Sponge. Throughout the series, SpongeBob goes out of his way to use the inflatable pants to help people, and over time, he becomes a symbol of hope for everyone in Bikini Bottom. This is like how, to me, and so many others who grew up watching SpongeBob on TV, the character represents positivity in a world that can be so overly negative and divisive at times. And one of the beautiful things about a show like that is that in an age where people are conditioned to hate everyone else for their beliefs, their ideologies, their looks, etc., a group of kids, teenagers, adults, families, and millions of households can collectively turn on the television and share a common enjoyment of a show they might not even know unites them. And really, mankind should be more united nowadays. There's too much division in the media, not enough of a focus on community and everyone coming together as one species, the human species. Which is why I incorporated themes of togetherness in the Fanon series, which come to a climax in the final episode, where everyone has been united by the kind and selfless acts of Super Sponge in one epic moment. And like many shows, such as Adventure Time, the series begins with each episode just being kinda loosely connected. There's continuity, but not a big focus on it. But as the series progresses, an ongoing story starts to come together, and pieces of Sandy's mysterious past in Texas begin to resurface and come back to haunt her. And this gets fully explored in the final 3 episodes. One for Bikini Bottom, parts 1, 2, and 3. And SpongeBob must help her defeat this threat from her past to save Patrick and Bikini Bottom. I'm an aspiring film and television writer, and I'm really proud of how this Fanon series came out. It isn't animated, but if you want to read it, the link to Super Sponge is in the description below this YouTube video. The series is on my website on Fandom, the Cartoon Post Wiki. But anyways, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. How would you guys fix this episode? Are there any other episodes of SpongeBob you would make differently? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, share, and subscribe.